Hello. So I think I'm live, and I'm really hoping that. Oh gosh, now Facebook is giving me lots of different things about customization and things like that. Oh my gosh, why does it do this to me? Um, so it's now saying share to groups. I'm just going to put something about. Well, I'm live anyway, so hopefully you can see me. And if you are here, please can you just let me know in the comments that you can see me now. So hi everybody, if you're watching on the replay, just pop me a replay in the comments so I can see who was there live and who was on the replay. I am Rachel Spencer and I am here to talk about how to put your pet business in the spotlight. So first of all, I just want to say a massive thank you to Ruby for putting on this event, which is just epic, isn't it? Like, when I looked at the numbers this morning of how many people were here, there's over 7,000. I think it was getting on for 7,500, which is just amazing. Hi Zara, thank you for letting me know that you're here. Facebook Live is my nemesis, so it's good to know that you can hear me. If there's any problems, please just let me know in the comments. I have got my phone on standby so I can switch over if the broadcast quality is affected. Okay, so first of all, big thanks to Ruby for putting on this event. I mean, it's just amazing. 7,500 dog trainers, all pet professionals, all in one place. When I saw her talking about it on social media, I think I was invited to this group, and obviously I wanted to come along to see what you guys were all doing. But I also messaged her and said, do you think people would be interested in learning about publicity? And she very kindly came back and said yes, they would. So I'm here today to talk about how you can put your pet business in the spotlight. So what I'm going to do is if you've been in this, if you've been following the event, if you go and have a look at the if you go and have a look in the files section or in the wall in this event, I did a post this morning and it basically said if you I've got a couple of worksheets that you can use for this session if you want to. If you want to go and grab them, you can do. They're on the page for this session. So one of them is it's an ideas worksheet, and then the other one is a pitch template. So what I'm going to do in this session is I'm going to go give you lots and lots of practical advice, and then at the end, if you want to go away and use use the advice and use the ideas worksheet and all of those things, then you can do. So if you want to go and grab those now, and what I'll do is as I'm going through the session, I'm going to refer to different things on there, and then you can go and use the worksheet and the pitch later on. So that's what that's there for. So if you want to go and grab those, that would be brilliant. And what also would be really great to know is what you do in your pet business. So I know I'm seeing a few familiar faces here. Hi Petra and Yitka and Stephanie and Zara. I know some of you, but if you just let me know in the chat what you do in your pet business, that'd be really helpful. And then as I'm kind of talking and thinking about what this session's all about, if I see you and you say, oh, I'm a virtual pet photographer like Petra is, I can bring in what you do into the advice that I'm sharing. So how this session is going to work. First of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about me and my background. I'm then going to talk about why would we bother to try to get publicity for our pet businesses in the first place. So what's the reason why we would do that? Then we're going to talk about how to identify what makes a story, and that's what the worksheet's for. So that's going to give you some prompts. I'm then going to show you some examples of clients, people who I've worked with, and stories that I've written over the years, or well, they're all quite recent actually, but some examples so you can take the ideas that I've given you on the worksheet and put them into practice. So the idea is rather than just think, oh gosh, I don't know what to do, for that particular thing, I'm going to walk you through the examples. So it's going to be much more practical. Then what I'd love for you to do, if you're watching live, but also if you're watching on the replay, is if you've got a story idea, just pop it in the chat and just put my story idea is, or MSI to make it easier for you. So, my story idea is about virtual photo shoots, or my story idea is about XYZ. So as we're going through, when we get to that section, I'm going to prompt you to say what you do in your business. Okay, and then finally, I'm going to go through a 5-step process to help you get media coverage. And then we'll have a Q&A as well. So it's going to be really practical, and I would love for you to go away with this, with what you've learned in this session, go and come up with a story idea, go and pitch to your local media or wherever it is that you want to be, and yeah, just let me know how you get on, really. So first of all, I'm going to talk about me, and I'm going to keep this really brief because I want to keep this super practical and helpful and not waffle on about myself. So I'm Rachel, and I have been a journalist for 20 years. I'm a freelance. I've worked for lots of different newspapers, from local newspapers to big newspapers like I used to work at the News of the World. I write for, I've written for the Daily Mail, the Telegraph, the Express, lots of different big newspapers in the UK. Then in 2009, I adopted my friend's dog, Daisy. I might go and grab I'll show you a photo of her later. Anyway, so I adopted my friend's dog, Daisy. Daisy's owner, Jane, had a baby, and Daisy was a crazy terrier, and she wasn't very suitable around a new baby. So I ended up adopting her, and because of that, I started writing more about pets, more about the pet industry. And then I had all these stories, but sometimes I wasn't able to place them all. I'd have a story and it would only be quite small, and I wanted to give it more, basically. So I launched a pet blog in 2017, and that's called thepaulpost.co.uk. Then what happened was people who appeared on my pet blog asked me about how to get into mainstream media, so how to get into newspapers, magazines, radio and TV. So I wrote a book called Publicity Tips for Pet Businesses, and I thought I would write the book and that would be it. But then that ended, so I could send people there if they wanted advice, and the book's it's like £12 on Amazon, so it basically talks you through everything you need to get publicity. But then it kind of spiraled a little bit, and I ended up doing some consultancy, so doing one-to-ones with people if they wanted like a media plan or help with a press release or help with blogging, all kinds of different things. So I then formed the business that I've got now. I'm still working as a journalist, but I also have a consultancy and a membership program. I'm not going to talk about that here. You're going to learn lots of the stuff that I teach in my membership program on this session. So that's me. That's a little bit of background about me. I love writing about animals. That's kind of what led me to where I am today. I don't have any pet background at all, apart from being a dog owner. So I'm always saying this on sessions, I'm not a pet professional. So if you say something, if you put something in the chat or ask me a question, I might sound a little bit clueless. Like once I didn't even know what a high value treat was. So that will give you an idea of my level of knowledge when it comes to pets. But anyway, I am good. I know my strength is helping people get themselves out there, really. So that's me. So second part of the session is going to be, why would we bother getting publicity in the first place? So I think we're in a really brilliant position as business owners at the moment. Like when I, again, sound like a dinosaur, but when I first started out as a journalist, we only had newspapers. We had a little bit of online. This was in like 1999. We didn't have social media, we used email, but nothing like the volume that we have today. And most business owners didn't have a website. So if you wanted to get your message out there, if you're a dog trainer or vet physiotherapist like Rachel is here, like Freya's a trainer behaviourist, you might have to go and get an article published, or you might need to take out an advert. You'd have to do all kinds of different things and jump through a lot of hoops to get your message out there. Whereas now we've got this great thing, haven't we? We've got social media, we've got our websites, we've got things like this big event where we can go and reach people, and we can do it. It doesn't cost us any money. We can go and let people know about what it is that we do. However, I do feel that media coverage does still have a place. The way I like to look at things is I look at publicity now in two different ways. So we've got our own publicity, that's the hype that we create about our own businesses. So that's our website, our social media, it could be our printed newsletters, it could be all kinds of different promotional materials, it could be going to events, so the stuff that we're in control of. And then we've got publicity on other people's platforms. So we've got newspapers, magazines, radio, TV. Then we've also got, and it's great as a pet professional, we've also got other people's media. So, pet bloggers, pet business podcasts, pet podcasts, loads of different things. So let's say if you have got a new, if I use Petra as an example, Petra wants to let more people know about her virtual photo shoots. She could go into a Facebook group, or she could go on somebody else's blog, talk about what it is that she offers, and she could reach her ideal client that way. Now, if you're being published on other people's platforms, so a newspaper, magazine, TV, radio, blog, podcast, it's basically, we can all say we're great, can't we? We can say we're the best dog trainer or the best groomer or whatever it is that we do. But if you're published on somebody else's platforms, it's like third-party validation. So that's what you know, they're saying, you know, I like this lady or guy, you know, go and check them out. So that's why that's why I think it's important to get published on other platforms rather than just our own. The other thing that we do is we build authority and credibility. So, if you go and speak at like a local event as a dog trainer, you're reaching all of those different people. That's building your authority and credibility, isn't it? If you're in your local paper and people, you're giving advice, let's say, on how to help your dog cope after lockdown is eased, then people are going to take that advice, they might go and follow it, and then when they're looking for a dog trainer or a dog groomer or whatever it is that you do in your business, you're going to be front of mind. And each time they're reading about you, if you're in a lovely position where you're able to get publicity regularly, each time they're reading about you, every time you're building that trust, you're building that authority. And ultimately people think, okay, well, if someone's in the paper giving dog training advice, they must know what they're talking about. I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent in a moment on this topic, because this is actually the reason why I wanted to come and talk here today, because it's something I feel really, really passionate about, because I know many of you who are dog trainers and pet professionals generally, there are some people who do get a lot of exposure and sometimes you might not agree with their methods, and this is why I wanted to kind of do this session, so I can enable you to start doing the same. Often when people are on TV or they're getting a lot of exposure, they have obviously, there's been a path that they've followed, but they will have started off working on their own, they will have started off raising their own profile, they will have then got to the point where they can hire a professional or an agent to help them do that, and then we see them everywhere, they're on the telly. I'm talking about dogs behaving badly, the kind of trainers who you see on there, and I know people have got very strong opinions about them in some circles, so I just wanted to kind of highlight that. The other thing that you do as well, if you're getting publicity, so let's say you're going into the Warrington Guardian, which I'm always talking about on the podcast because I used to work there years ago. So the Warrington Guardian is a local newspaper in Cheshire, and they have got a readership. So every week they sell 40,000 copies. Then on their Facebook page, they've got 65,000 followers. So every story that goes in the paper goes on the Facebook page. So you're reaching 100,000 people straight away if you go into the Warrington Guardian. Now, we know with Facebook and algorithms and all the stuff that we have on social media, we are at the mercy of the algorithm, aren't we? Whereas if you go and you might do a post, it might be amazing, but it might not be seen by many people. However, if you go into a newspaper, then you're going to be read by all the people who read the paper, and then you're going to have the online as well. But ultimately, and if you go onto a really big newspaper, like the Daily Mail or the Telegraph, you're potentially reaching 40 million people. I've got some examples on the floor of stories I'm going to show you later, and that is of pet pros in the Daily Telegraph, in big newspapers who I've worked with. And even if it's great being in the Telegraph or in a really big publication, but what's also really great if you're a local service provider is being in your local paper, being the go-to pet pro in your town, whether you're a groomer, a walker or a trainer. If you can raise your profile locally, then that's naturally going to lead to more people knowing about you, knowing about what you do, and potentially referring you to people who might need your help. So one example, I'm just going to talk briefly about Karen Boyce. She's a membership client of mine. She's a dog trainer over in Wales. She runs Beastly Thoughts Dog Training. Some of you may know her. She came to me a couple of years ago because she'd won an Animal Star Award, and we did a press release about her winning the award. We can talk about this in more detail later. So we did the first press release about her winning the award. Then what we did was she came up with various different story ideas in the weeks and months that followed that. So one was about puppy training, one was about how to help your dog cope when we go into lockdown, one was about National Dog Photography Day, one was about how to help your dog, how to have a safe dog walk in the winter, loads of different story ideas. But because she built that relationship with the journalist and the newspaper, with the first story, every time she had a story idea, she'd go to them and she'd have another story published. So if you go and Google her name, you'll see lots and lots of different stories. So she has really raised her profile locally and done a fantastic job. Hi Rachel Bean, lovely to see you here. So that's Karen. In fact, now Rachel's here, I'm going to talk a little bit about Rachel. So I've done a little bit of work with Rachel over the years. Rachel's helped me. Rachel, if you don't know her, and I'm sure you all do, but Rachel's a vet nurse, and she runs a brilliant first aid training program. So a few years ago, I went on one of Rachel's first aid classes, and I wrote about it for the Thank You Rachel vet nurse, behaviour advisor, and canine first aid tutor. She says it much better than I do. Anyway, I went and did her first aid course, and then I wrote about it for the Daily Mirror, and then I also wrote about it for the Warrington Guardian, and then Rachel's helped me on lots of different features over the years, where I've been writing for people like Pet Plan, LV Pet Insurance, various other different people. She's also helped me on my blog as well. So that's an example of, you know, getting a relationship with a journalist, then them coming back to you and working with you on a regular basis. So Rachel also works with Street Paws. You're a trustee, aren't you, at Street Paws? It feels so weird not being able to talk back to you, but anyway, Rachel also works for Street Paws, and again, we've done lots of work raising their profile as well. So that's kind of, you know, why should we bother with publicity in the first place? I hope that has kind of explained to you why it's worthwhile, and hopefully you're going to stay with me and finish watching this session. So next up, we're going to talk about what makes a story. So if you've got the worksheet, brilliant. You've got, should be like 6 little boxes that you can fill in on the worksheet, and then you can go, you know, you can think about, okay, what could I do for this particular kind of story prompt. And then the idea is, if you've come here and you thought, right, I really want to get some publicity, I'd really love to be in my local paper, I would love for you to have something written in your notes and be able to go away with an idea to go and pitch. So what makes a story? Well, first of all, it could be something new. So let's say you've created something new, something innovative. That could be a program, it could be a technique, it could be you know, I keep picking on Petra. It could be like Petra's virtual photo shoot, something new and innovative. That could be a story. So when Petra did my free PR challenge last year it was even. We worked on the story about her virtual photo shoots, and she got some really great coverage. So that was something new. The next thing you can talk about is awards and achievements. So again, if you've won like Small Business Sunday, if you've won like a Federation of Small Businesses award, if you've won an Animal Star award, that's of interest to your local paper. So a person from your area winning an award is exciting. It's a nice business story. So you can go and pitch an award story. Awards and achievements is the next section. Then we've got community and charity. So if you've done something for your community, brilliant. You can then, let's say if you one of my clients, Carol, she has these events where she gets like the people who've adopted pets from the local rescue down to an event, and then she gives some training on how to help the rescue dog. That's a nice community story. Then we've got charity. So if you've done something, you've raised money for a dog charity. Rachel Bean, again, sorry for picking on you again, but Rachel goes all over the world helping you know, these amazing dog charities. So that's a fascinating story for her local media, also for, you know, pet magazines, dog magazines. So that's like, you know, her charity work. Then you might have a story about an inspiring animal. So let's say you have got a dog that's got a really talented dog, or that's done something really remarkable, or even if it is, you know, a dog that works with people who are vulnerable, maybe a therapy dog, that can be a story as well. I once did a story about a dog. I don't know if there's 7,000 people in this group, so somebody will probably know her, but there's a lady called Emma from Dogs for Rescue over in Manchester. And she's basically got this dog, a Romanian rescue, who lost her back legs and tail. She was terribly abused in Romania, and she did this amazing thing where the dog can still walk. She's called Cherry. She's beautiful. I'll share the link later. Let me just write down my notes. So Cherry can still walk. She has these wheels, and they did a thing where she walked a mile every day for 26 days to raise money for a new visitor centre at the rescue. And we did the story that Cherry, a two-legged dog, is running a marathon, and it got picked up by she's over in Manchester. It got picked up by all the locals. It went on to on the radio, on the TV, and it meant that they raised loads of money for this brilliant shelter. So that's an inspiring animal story. Then we've got like a light bulb moment. So have you thought, oh gosh, you know, people need, I'm seeing lots of puppies who are having this particular problem. This is what I'm going to do to solve it. So if you've had a light bulb moment, that can be really great as well. And then finally, finally, like, obviously we've got a news story. So a news story could be, more pets being adopted in lockdown, or, more dogs suffering separation anxiety. That's where you're kind of piggybacking what's happening in the news. So I'm going to go through some proper examples with you now. Hold up some bits of paper, and hopefully you can relate. And I'm just going to have a quick look in the chat as well. So hi Caroline, lovely to have you here. Caroline, I'm going to be talking about you as well, and you Petra. And hi Rachel, Freya, Catherine, Bentley and Bear, I love the name, and Vicky. Thank you very much for joining me, and do have a little think about your story ideas. So as I'm waffling on, if you've got a story idea, just put in MSI, so my story idea, and then, my story idea is about, Paws Up for the NHS, or my story idea is about whatever your story idea is about. So I'm going to go through some examples. So first of all, something new. So here, I'm going to hold up Edition Dog magazine first of all. So no, you can't. Well, you can kind of see it, can't you? But you can see it's Edition Dog magazine. It's about Adios Plastic. I'm so bad with these cameras. So this is about Adios Plastic. So they make compostable poo bags, and they've been doing it. They've been going for a while. But Ben, who runs it, was looking to raise a profile, and I think he'd taken out some advertising in Edition Dog as well. But you can also get publicity for free. But he wanted to have a story about Adios Plastic. So rather than just say buy our poo bags, he wanted to create a bit of a story. So we had a one-to-one session, and we came up with a few story ideas. One of which appeared in here, about Adios Plastic and where it all came from, how it all came about and what inspired him to create his product. So that, I would say, that's an example of something new. Now, he also appeared in Pet Business World, Pet Gazette, and a few other publications as well, so did really well. So that's something new. Now, Petra's virtual photo shoots, they were also something new, because we were in lockdown, and she had this great idea of doing the virtual photo shoots, and it meant that it was innovative, and it meant that people who had small businesses could still have photo shoots in lockdown. So that was like something new, because it was like, gosh, this is really exciting. And 2 magazines jumped on the story, they loved it. Like Canine Hoopers. Now, I know Canine Hoopers has been around for a while, but when something new comes over to the UK, I think, again, please forgive me, but I think Canine Hoopers came from America. I'm probably wrong there. But let's say if you're doing something new, you're a dog trainer in Bristol, like Caroline is, and you've decided to start doing Canine Hoopers, so that's something new and exciting for the people of Bristol. You can do a story about it. So then we're going to talk about awards and achievements. Now, I don't have any examples to hold up here, but I'm going to give you, I don't have any papers to hold up here, but I'm going to run through some examples. So let's say if you won Small Business Sunday, that's a story. So that's an award and achievement. Let's say if you trained 200 puppies in lockdown. So Karen, who I was talking about earlier, she's trained over 200 puppies in lockdown. Now that is an achievement, isn't it, given that we couldn't go anywhere? And then if you've got an achievement is also like a business achievement. So let's say if you have been running your dog walking business for 5 years, that's the story for a business page. So that's an achievement for you as a small business owner, and it's also a story as well. So you can go and do a story about an achievement. So an example of a community or charity story, Caroline, I'm glad you're here, because Caroline did this amazing campaign last year called Paws Up for the NHS, and it was where she fundraised for the NHS. She did really, really well, and she did a brilliant campaign. She went in BBC Radio Bristol, some of her local media. She went into the Daily Star, which was really funny. So that was fantastic. So she obviously did like loads of stuff online as well to get the Paws Up for the NHS campaign out there. So what she did was she trained dogs to do various different tricks, and if people wanted to take part, they just had to make a small donation to the NHS, and that meant that Caroline raised money, and we all got to learn how to train our dogs. Another thing that would be a community charity story would be, setting up a support group. So if you set up a support group for people who are worried about the dogs getting bored in lockdown, that would be like a community story. So inspiring animal, it could be like a sniffer dog or a trick dog, or like the one that I told you about, like Cherry, the dog who lost her legs, who was running a marathon, and a light bulb moment. An example of a light bulb moment. Now, Ben from Adios Plastic is a bit of a light bulb moment, because he had this idea of wanting to bring compostable poo bags to the UK. Another idea that's a light bulb moment is one from Karen. Karen from Luxury Dog Campers. So Karen was watching. She was watching a program about Fortnum and Mason, and she had this idea to create Fortnum and Mason for dogs. So that was a light bulb moment. And then an example of a news story would be something like dog thefts in lockdown. So I'm just going to grab you some. I'm just going to grab some examples off the floor here. So dog thefts in lockdown. This is. Let me just find the cutting. Okay, so as we know, loads of dogs have been getting stolen in lockdown. So let me just show you. In fact, I'm going to show you this. This one was about social distancing and how it's good for puppies. So we've got a couple of examples of people with puppies there, and then an expert comment from a dog trainer. The dog's been stolen in lockdown. Now, where the bloody hell I put that cutting? Sorry, just bear with me a sec. This is one that I did last weekend. So here we go. So as we know, there's been loads of dogs stolen in lockdown, hasn't there? So what I did last week was I did a big story about what people are doing. Basically, dog owners being warned not to take the law into your own hands to stop thefts. And in there is two pet businesses in there who've got boarding businesses, and they're talking about how the steps they're taking basically to stop dogs being stolen. So that is like a news story. This is another kind of news story example. This was when lockdown first hit, and it was talking about how people were going and adopting. People were going to rescue centres and adopting dogs because they wanted to give them a home, which was really great. So that was a news story. And then this is a kind of something new example. So this is about an app called Paw Squad, and it's basically like an online vet app. So it's like a vet in your smartphone. So that's an example of something new. So, okay, so if you have got a story idea, I would love if you would just pop it in the chat for me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just talk a little bit about why. I'm going to talk a little bit about why I think it's really important for you to be kind of raising your profiles off social media and off your own websites and pitching to the media. But if you've got a story idea, just put in MSI is ... and whatever it is. The other thing I wanted to kind of touch on a little bit as well is, I know I talked about this briefly before, but at the moment on social media, I've seen a couple of people in dog training groups talking about how they're seeing some very kind of aversive and archaic methods of dog training being used. And again, this is why I kind of wanted to do this chat really. So for example, my stepdaughter Millie, she's 10, and she sent me a video the other day, and it was of this dog trainer on TikTok. And this dog trainer was basically showing you how to stop your dog pulling on the lead. And she sent it to me because she thought it would be helpful for me with Patch. He sometimes pulls on his lead. And I looked at this, and it was like a dog trainer with a choke chain, which is something that, I've not seen for decades. But it was, a metal choke chain, and I was quite shocked by that. Then I was talking to a few other pet professionals. One guy was a vet. I was talking to him about what had happened, and he was saying there's a lot of things that we're seeing in America that are normal in America, things like ear cropping, using electric shock collars, using prong collars, using choke chains, are being normalised and being brought over here. And that's why I think it's really important for you guys to be getting your force-free, your much more forward-thinking methods of training out there because of what's going on. And there's a real feeling that we've got a generation here who are seeing things like choke chains and things like that being normalised. So that's why I kind of wanted to do this session and talk about how to, if you want to raise your profile in the media, this is what you can do. So as I say, if you've got any story ideas, do please pop them in the chat. Don't worry if you haven't. I do have a free challenge actually, and I'm going to put the link in the group. And if you want to come and join me on the free challenge when I next hold it, then you're more than welcome. So again, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run through the kind of process of what to do if you think, okay, I'd really like to get some media coverage. Where do I go from here? So if you're out of ideas, Petra, okay, well, let me have a little think while I'm waffling on, and another one might come to you. Okay, so first of all, if you're thinking about getting media coverage, then the first thing to do is to have a think about where it is that you want to well, first of all, you want to think about why you want to get media coverage. So people want to get media coverage for loads and loads of different reasons. I guess for you guys here who are pet professionals, it's mostly because you want to, raise your profile and for more people to know about who you are and what you do. But another reason might be because, you've got a cause that you believe in and that you want people to know about. So if we think about Caroline, who did, the big Paws Up for the NHS campaign, she did that. Obviously, it was touching on raising her profile as a dog trainer and pet professional, but it was also because she wanted to raise money for the NHS, which was fantastic, and that's what she went ahead and did. So first of all, let's think about why we want to get media coverage and what it is that we want to achieve. So the next step would be to think about where you want to feature. So there's loads of different places that you can go and feature. So again, I touched on this a little bit earlier, but you can think, if we think about all the different places where people can discover what it is that we do, we've obviously got social media, we have blogs, we've got podcasts, we've got YouTube channels, we've got people who have Facebook Lives, and then we've also got, outside of that, we've got more mainstream media. So we've got things like newspapers, we've got magazines, TV and radio. And then if we break that down further, we've also got things like hyperlocal websites. So let's say if we were talking about Newcastle, for example, which is where I live, we've got the Newcastle Chronicle and Journal, which is a big website. But then we've also got smaller local websites, which again are really great places to go if you want to raise your profile. So if you live, like I live in a suburb called Gosforth, so if there was a small website or even a Facebook group where lots of people from Gosforth were talking about the dogs, I might want to go there. That might be where I would want to raise my profile. If we were looking at like magazines, we've got your big magazines. So we've got like Your Dog or Edition Dog, and then we've got the smaller magazines. So I might want to be in Gosforth Life, so it could be a really small local magazine. Because actually, while it's really great to be in a big title like Your Dog or Edition Dog or Dogs Monthly, being in a local publication is also really great as well, because it's just you're reaching people in your area, aren't you? People who might actually book in with you, who might book you to groom their dog, walk their dog, train their dog. So that's another thing to consider. With TV, again, obviously you've got your kind of, we all have local TV and radio stations, same for radio, and also your smaller radio stations as well. So, your local radio stations in particular are always looking for people to go and approach them with ideas about things that are happening in the news. So today, for example, it's National Puppy Day, isn't it? So I don't know actually if anyone might have thought of doing this. Caroline's here. I know you've been doing a big puppy campaign because I follow Caroline on social media and get her emails. But for National Puppy Day, you could actually go and pitch to your local radio station. We can obviously do it today because it's the day, but you could have, like last week, you could have pitched a story around National Puppy Day to a newspaper or magazine as well. National Puppy Day, you can go to your local radio station and say, I'm Caroline and I'm a dog trainer from Bristol, and I wondered if you might be doing anything for National Puppy Day, because if you like to chat, I can talk about, and then give them, say, 5 bullet points on what you could talk about. So if we wanted to do something really relevant and really timely for National Puppy Day, it might be something like, the rise in, we've obviously got the puppy pandemic, haven't we? We've had so many people getting puppies in the pandemic. So Caroline might talk about, how to prepare your puppy for the new normal, some of the things that she's seen in puppies over the last year that are quite out of the ordinary. She might talk about, the best places to go and help socialise your puppy in Bristol. Talk about loads of different things to make it really, really relevant for that publication, that radio show, that newspaper, that magazine. So have a really good think about where you want to feature. And what I do is I get people who I work with to do a big list, and then I get them to chip away at it and try and go through all the different publications. So they, if they've got a story idea and one person says no to it, then they've got loads of other people who they can go to, haven't they? So the next step is to research the publication. So I'm going to go back to my highly organised system of piles of papers and magazines on the floor, and I'm going to show you what I mean by this. So again, I'm going to use Edition Dog. And I might go and grab a copy of Your Dog as well, because they've got, yes, I've got a copy of Your Dog here too. So I'm going to go through a couple of dog magazines with you now, and hopefully that's going to give you some idea of what I mean by researching publication. So yeah, Caroline's just popped up, re-socialising for getting out of lockdown. Exactly. Caroline, if you haven't got onto BBC Radio Bristol, I know you will probably have done so by the end of the afternoon. So that's just how you can spark ideas. And you can see, you see these ideas on social media. Some of you might have planners where you can see all the different awareness days that are coming up. So, or just look at what's in the news. Like one of the easiest ways to get ideas is just to see what's going on in the news. So the next step number 3, is we're going to research the publication. So let's have a look at Edition Dog. First of all, always have a look at this section at the front, because that's going to tell you who all the people are who worked for Edition Dog. And sometimes it'll give phone numbers, email addresses, so you can get all of the contacts there. They're in the obviously in the public domain. They're there because people want, they want you to get in touch. You were on there on Saturday, brilliant. Okay, Caroline, gold start for Caroline. So let's have a look in Edition Dog. So we've got, I know you can't really see it, but we've got features. So every month they're going to have different features, aren't they? Or they might have some similar features that run every month, so they might have regulars. So I know Rachel Bean does a first aid column every month. So in this month's Edition Dog, we've got a debate about crating. Caroline Wilkinson, who's here, is talking about that. We've got how to prepare your dog to go into spring. We've got talking about fibre in your dog's diet. School dogs, is taking dogs to school a good or bad thing? Visiting a vet in lockdown. Again, if you're a vet, you could perhaps, pitch to your local paper about something like that. We've got something about treating dogs like children. Should we or shouldn't we? That's a debate. We've got a debate about the puppy, the puppy boom. Dog Owner's Guide to Canine Eye Health. So that's from a vet. That's Jessica May from First Vet, talking about how to keep your dog's eyes healthy. Now there are actually awareness days around eye health, so that might be why they've done that particular feature. We've got something about the Emmett technique. I'm not quite sure what that is, so I'm not going to talk about that very much. I think it's something to do with massage and physio. Then we've got something about Dog Aid, lovely charity story. So we talked about charities in one of the 6 things that you can look at. We've got a breed focus, and then Secret Life of the Vet. So that's TV vet Rory Cowlam talking about what he does. So that's in the features section. Then we've got regulars. So regular section, there you go. We've got the first aid, that's the one that Rachel does. Dog games and training, recipes, chew on this, and then a breed focus as well. So again, when they do the breed focuses, they often ask people who've got that particular breed to get in touch and say, tell us about your dog, tell us about your Chihuahua or your Patterdale Terrier or whatever breed it is. So actually, if you go and follow these magazines on social media, go to the Facebook pages, you'll often see prompts where you can get involved that way as well. Then they've got a Pooch product section. So again, you can go and pitch to them about a product. So if you've got, that's where the Adios plastic thing is. So that's what we do. We kind of dissect what is in the magazine. So if you think I really want to be an Edition Dog, you can then have a look through it and think about, which section you could fit into. So then we've got like a bit of a news section. So this is just kind of short news stories. These will probably be from press releases that people have sent in. I'm not going to go through the whole magazine, but you kind of get my drift, don't you? So the next one we're going to look at is we're going to look at Your Dog magazine. And again, I'm going to keep this brief. I don't want to waffle on too much, but I just want to kind of demonstrate exactly what I mean by going through them with a bit of a fine tooth comb. So Your Dog magazine, be great again, obviously, for you as a pet professional to get in there. Or at the front, you'll see who's who. They'll kind of talk about who works there and who looks after the different sections. So in the front, we've got various features in here. Just read the headlines. We've got a celebrity interview, Puppy Panic, the Lockdown Saviours, talking about dogs being our saviours in lockdown. Teaching your dog food manners. We've got Dog Fitness, Lost and Found. This is talking about the dog theft. There's a freebie section, and we've got a dog shopping section. And then there's there's all kinds of different Q&As and that kind of thing. Again, they do a breed focus as well. So again, look out on their Facebook page for their breed focus sections that they do. Now I'm going to show you this because if there's anyone watching here who's got a product, it's really handy to know. So every month they do like a dog shopping section, and they'll show various different products, and they'll need people to tell them about the products. So you can get in touch and tell them about if you've got a product that you think would fit in there. So here we've got, we've got a new food brand there that's been brought out. We've got some new bowls across the top. We've got a book. So if you've written a book, you might be able to pitch to them about your book. So again, it just kind of says what the key features is, what the book's about, what the price is, and where you can get it from. So that's a great, if you've got a book coming out, it's a great piece of publicity for you, isn't it? It's going to a magazine like Your Dog. So I hope that's kind of getting your ideas flowing, and yes. So that's what we do next. We've thought about why we want to get coverage. What's the reason why we're doing this? Then we've thought about where we want to feature. Then we've been through the publication with a bit of a fine-tooth comb. The other thing that you can do, the next step, is to find the right journalist. So again, when I showed you the front sections where it has all the names of the different journalists on there, go and make sure that you're pitching to the right one. So if there's somebody who writes about, if there's someone who writes opinion pieces and you want to kind of put yourself forward to talk about a particular topic, go and pitch to the opinion piece person. Same with when you're working with local papers or regional papers, make sure you go through the paper and find the person who covers your particular topic. So that might be, you might be pitching for the business section, so you would pitch to the business editor. Or if you're, let's say if you're pitching to a local paper where they divide the town or the village up into different areas. Let's say if Caroline lives in, again off the top of my head, if Caroline lives in Clifton in Bristol and there's a reporter who covers Clifton in Bristol, then you can go and obviously send your pitch off to them, and that's going to be more likely to land because they cover your particular area. So make sure you find the right journalist, and then the next thing to do is to get your story idea together and send off your pitch. So again, it sounds quite daunting, it sounds quite scary, but if you do the 4 steps that I've given you beforehand, it's not as scary as you might think. And you will find, particularly if you're pitching to your local media where there are not so many staff, they've had lots and lots of cutbacks, then there will be, if you can give them a pitch or a story idea that's going to make their lives easier at the end of the day, then they are going to be very appreciative of it. So when I talk about writing your pitch, I'm just going to go and pull up the thing that I put in the, I'm going to just pull up the file that I put in the group for you earlier. So when I say about writing your pitch, what your pitch is basically a short outline of what your story is all about. So what you're doing is you're going to the journalist and you're pitching to them and basically saying, I've got this story idea. Please, I think it would be of interest to your readers because of X, Y, Z. Here's what you need to know, and then you're then giving them the opportunity to say yes. That sounds like a great idea. I would love to feature. I'd love to use it, or they can say no, and that's fine too. So Caroline, thanks very much for coming along and listening to my dulcet tones. It's been lovely having you here, so I will see you soon. So let's talk about your pitch. And as I say, if anyone's got any story ideas and wants to just pop them in the chat, then do please feel free to do that, and I can go through it with you live, try and give you a little bit of a pointer on how to go about pitching it and who you might want to send it to and that kind of thing. So how to write a pitch, and you can go and grab this template, this guide from the Facebook group as well. So if you're getting in touch with the journalist, you need to send them a pitch, and all it is a short and structured email which will explain a little bit about you and your idea, including some key facts. So here's what you would need to consider. I'm just going to do a pitch off the top of my head at the end of this. Wow, okay, dog parkour in Hamburg. Thank you, Nan. I'll come back to you later. Okay, so first of all, intro, explain why you're getting in touch. So you might get in touch and say, hi, I'm just getting in touch to see if you might be interested in covering a story about re-socialising puppies for coming out of lockdown. Then the next thing is who you are and what you do. So you might then say, I'm Caroline and I'm a puppy trainer from Bristol, and I have worked with, puppies, however many puppies you've worked with. Then the next thing you would say is why this story is of interest. So if we were doing the puppies coming out of lockdown, then you might say something like, you know, as we're due to come out of lockdown in 3 weeks' time, when many puppies who have been, you know, who've been brought into families during lockdown won't have experienced things like, you know, pubs, cafes, the outside world. It could be very stressful for them. Lots of different things that the puppies are going to need to overcome, and their owners are going to need to overcome. So that's why the story is of interest. You might also want to put in some stats about the rise in puppies and the rise in the dog population in lockdown. So I was writing about this a couple of days ago, and the dog population, according to the Pet Food Manufacturers Association, has gone up from 9.5 million in 2019 to 12 million in 2020, which is huge, isn't it? So again, you might want to drop that stat in, or there might be some figures from like the Dogs Trust or from another organisation. So then the next thing is, who will the story help? So the story will help new puppy owners who might be feeling anxious about taking their puppy into the real world for the first time, and, you know, want to give them the best start in life. Then what are you offering? So tips of product samples. So if we were using Caroline as the example again, we might just say, you know, I've got 5 tips for puppy owners to help them re-socialise their pet, and to make sure that, you know, their pet comes out of lockdown feeling, you know, happy and confident, and all the things that you want your pet to do. And then finally, how they can find out more. So, you know, if you want to find out more, if you'd like to have a chat, then you can ring me on, and always put your phone number in. So sometimes people, like journalists, will be working, you know, things are quite fast paced. If they like your story idea, they might just want to ring you straight away. This happens quite a lot. Sometimes people can be a little bit thrown by it. So what I always suggest people do is prepare as much as they possibly can, but always put your phone number on there. Don't be scared of chatting to people on the phone. But what I would do is, before obviously you send off the email, do kind of prepare what it is that you want to say. And I've got an entire podcast episode on, I just need to have a quick drink. I've got an entire podcast episode on how to prepare for an interview. So I will put that in the group, and a few other bits and bobs later as well. So the other thing I'd always suggest you do as well is include a low-res photo, so just so they can see who you are, and a photo that tells a story. So example I use quite a lot is a guy I was working with called Dominic Hodgson. Again, probably some of you will know him. He did a tour de rescue where he went on a bike ride. He went around loads of different rescues. So the image that we needed to tell that story was Dominic on his bike with a rescue dog. So you can see, can't you, that tells the story. So if there's a really nice relevant photo that you can use, put that in there as well. Like Petra's might have been, you know, Petra at a computer with on the screen, you know, someone who she's taken a photo of. Thanks, Rachel. Okay, so I've kind of gone through an example pitch with you there as I've gone through the different points, but what I'm going to do is, if you have a look on the sheet, on the worksheet, then there's a sample pitch here. So this is a real pitch from Kerry Jordan. She's a dog photographer, and this is a real picture that she sent, and she got her story picked up by quite a lot of different titles. So here we go. So I wonder if your readers will be interested in the piece on National Dog Photography Day, which is taking place on the 26th of July. I think she probably would have put something like, you know, I'm the founder, Kerry Jordan, and last year it trended at #1 on Twitter, beating Friday Feeling, as the world flooded the internet with their dogs. Then, you know, I created the day, so who she is. I created the day to celebrate our dogs, but also to raise money for local dog charities. So that's, you know, why the story is of interest and who it will help. And then what are you offering? I could offer some tips for your readers on how to take better photos of their dogs, as well as how dog businesses can get involved. And then finally, if you can help, you know, how they can find out more. So she said, if I can help in any way, do let me know. My number is. So she sent that off to Surrey Life, and she ended up doing a really good feature in there about how to take better pictures of your dog. And she also sent off something similar to the Times, and it was during lockdown, and she had a feature in the Times where she was talking about basically when we were all kind of at home in, like, this was in like April, I think, last year, when we were all at home with, you know, we weren't allowed out. She pitched to them a guide on how we can use our time to improve our photography and take photos of our dogs. So that's what Kerry did there. So that's how you do a pitch. Really, really, that's very, I've kind of whizzed through it with you, but hopefully you've got a feel of how you would go about it. And it's a really simple formula, and I know that this works because, I use it on the challenge. I've used it over and over again with people in my membership and people who I've worked with, and that will work as long as you've got a decent story. So, Nan has said my story idea is dog parkour in Hamburg. So, Nan, are you a parkour instructor? Let us know in the chat, because I wish I could share my screen. I did a feature on dog parkour. I'll put the link in later. And you know what I did? There's a lady called Michelle Walker who she's one of my clients, and she does dog parkour classes over in Manchester. And I'd never heard of dog parkour before. And I just said, I pitched it as a journalist, and I just said, pitched to an editor who would do some stuff for, and said, did you know there's a thing, dog parkour? You can it's where you do parkour with your dog, and do you fancy a feature on it? So I went and did a parkour class with Michelle, and then I wrote about what it was like, and we got a really lovely spread. I'll put a picture of it in the chat later. So what you could do, Nan, is just pop an email to the publication and say, just getting in touch to see if you might be interested in covering a story about dog parkour. Dog parkour is talk about what it is. I'm a dog parkour instructor from, and where you're from. I wondered the benefits of dog parkour are, and maybe talk about how, if we can make it nice and newsy. We could talk about, how people can practice it at home if they're not able to go out very much, how it might be good for puppies who need, socialising or whatever it is that works. Now, what I would do with something like parkour is I would say, if any of your, if you're sending it off to a publication, I would say, if any of your writers might be interested in trying it out, then I would love to, I'd love to welcome, love to invite them to a class, and you could do exactly what I did, and the journalist would write about the experience. Now, that's what happened with Rachel Bean when I did her first aid class. Rachel was doing her first aid sessions at the doggy daycare, which is where my old dog used to go to. So I just went along with everybody else, did the class, and then I wrote about it. Rachel knew I was writing about it. So you can invite the journalist to actually try what it is that you offer, and that's great. You get some brilliant publicity from that. So give it a go. Let me know how you get on. Come and join me. I'll put my links where you can find out more about me at the end as well. So I hope that helps, Nan. And I think, dog parkour, the good thing about dog parkour is, or anything pet related really, is they're nice. You've got images, haven't you? You've got images of puppies or dogs or dogs doing interesting things, and it's a nice visual thing as well, isn't it? So I always say this, but imagine if you were like a solicitor or something. You don't have like those brilliant images, do you, as you do as a pet professional? So that's what you could do with your dog parkour. Zara, hello Zara. My story idea. I'm going to read this out just in case anyone's watching on the replay. I'm an ex-sea lion trainer, zookeeper, accurist, looking to start my business dog training. I start my accreditation course in September, but I've trained many different species and implemented behaviour management programs in the zoo and the aquarium. My rescue dog made me feel passionate about helping people and their dogs. Force-free training is the only option when working with large, dangerous animals, or nervous, flighty prey animals. Dog domestics deserve the same ethical treatment kind of story. Okay, oh my gosh. Well, this is fascinating. I love this story idea, Zara. So tell me, I know it's hard in the chat because it's not a two-way conversation, is it? This is why I really struggle with Facebook Live, but anyway, tell me, you're going to have photos of you with sea lions, animals in the zoo, your kind of, your large dangerous animals that you just mentioned there, aren't you? So you're going to have images of you in your old life at the zoo. Now you're working to you're going to be working with dogs. What I would do is obviously wait until once you've has your business already started? If it hasn't, don't worry. We can still make the story idea work. But what you could do is I would pitch it as as a career story, so a real life story about how you've swapped working with lions and tigers and sea lions to you know, to working with dogs. So, and it's a career story. If you've got photos of you in the zoo with the large animals, and then photos of you with, you know, with the dogs, which are obviously a lot smaller, great. And then you can talk about your decision as to why you know, why you decided to go in the different direction. Was it you? So it was your rescue dog that inspired you. So I would love to see a picture of you in your old job, you and your rescue dog. Maybe you with a client further down the line. But that in itself is a really interesting, really good human interest story. So by human interest, I mean, you know, a human interest story is the kind of thing that we see a lot in the women's magazines, but also in local newspapers as well. It's a really nice feature idea about somebody, you know, about you, a really nice local feature idea, but it's really interesting. It's not like just something like, it's not something like, you know, woman starts business. You've worked in a zoo, then you've had this rescue dog that's inspired you, and now you've become an ethical dog trainer. So I think that's a fascinating story, Zara, and I would love to see it. And get your pictures together, and absolutely go for it. So yeah, you've just said that you do have the images, which is brilliant. So yeah, I would absolutely. I think that's absolutely a story. So it literally is just a story about you and what you're doing. It's weird because sometimes I always say to people, you know, it's not about you, but actually you've got a really interesting story there. So if you were coming to me and you were saying I'm a dog trainer and I would just want to get some publicity, I would probably say, okay, what can we, you know, how can we work on something that's happening now where you can use something that's happening in the news, like, you know, like Caroline did with the puppies. How can we make that work? But actually, you've got a really interesting backstory. So your backstory will be your first story, and then what you can do is build your relationship with the journalist. So I think any journalist who, as well, any journalist I can think of would find that story interesting. So once you've had your first story about your personal journey, you can then build a relationship with the journalist, and you know, go back with other story ideas. So you might go back with you know, a nice transformation story. Let's say you had a client with a very difficult dog, or a dog who'd come from, you know, let's say a Romanian rescue and was very timid, very frightened. This is all off the top of my head, so please excuse me. You could, if you had like a transformation story, you could use that as a pitch. So get started, and then, you know, you can use your first pitch, then start building on that so you're getting regular coverage. So I've just seen the time, and I am going to have to stop waffling on, but it's been absolutely fab. Thank you for those of you who stayed with me from the beginning. I know I've waffled on a bit, but I wanted to give you as many examples as possible so you can kind of imagine how it would work for you. So I'll do a quick post to wrap things up as well. But if you'd like some more advice, then there's a few ways you can do it. I've got a free podcast that you can go and listen to. So it's called Publicity for Pet Businesses. I'll put the link in, so you can go and listen to that. It's every week, and I cover loads of different things, from writing a pitch or press release to what happens if your story gets ignored, loads of different things. Then the other thing I have is a free Facebook group where I share lots of different, I share, you know, ideas, I share media opportunities, share tips. I put my podcast in there every week. It's quite a big Facebook group. It's about 1,500 people in there. People go in there to collaborate and to get support, ask questions, that kind of thing. So you can come and join me there. Got lots of blogs on my website, which you can go and read, covering publicity, blogging, all that kind of thing. And then you can also work with me in my membership program. You can find out about that on my website. And I also do one-to-ones. So if you wanted to book me for an hour, I have one-to-ones on offer at the moment for £97 instead of £197. So if you've got, like, let's say if you want to do a media plan, or you wanted help with a press release or anything like that, you can book in for a one-to-one. So I'll put the link in a separate post. But I'm going to stop now because it's bang on 1 o'clock. Thank you so much for coming along. If you've got any questions, do pop them in the comments and we'll come back and check on them. And thank you so much, Ruby, for having me as well. I really appreciate you inviting me along. It's been brilliant chatting, and I look forward to seeing your stories. I'll put my social media links in there as well, so you can keep in touch with me there. So yeah, have a great rest of the day, and thanks for joining me.